Good evening. I'm District Secretary Nancy Campbell Hatfield. It's Tuesday, March 17th, 2015, and this is a regular meeting of the Dublin San Ramon Services District Board of Directors. Presiding this evening is President Ed Duarte.
Call the meeting to order. Would you join me for the flag salute?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call, Nancy.
Director Von Leopold. Here. Director Benson. Here. Director Halkett.
Here.
Vice President Howard.
Here.
President Duarte.
Here.
Thank you.
I believe, Carl, you had a change to the order of business.
Yeah, but before we do that, let's mention the financial affairs meeting, and then we'll move on to.
Sure, we can do that. We have actually a couple of special announcements.
We'll get there.
Just kind of some of that stuff real quickly. I promise it'll be fast. I'd like to ask Dan Gallagher to present an award that the district received.
Members of the board, I'd like to show you the award I had the pleasure of accepting for the district this morning. I attended the California Water Reuse meeting in LA, and we received the Community Outreach and Public Education Project of the Year for the Residential Recycled Water Fill Station.
You guys.
That was like a perfect program to sell, but every opportunity with the drought, we planted the seeds and pitched the story about our residential fill stations because it's so wonderful. We have more than 500 customers now. I don't keep adding them.
More every day.
And more coming every day, so it's a wonderful program. We have a lot of people who, if we need them to speak in support of recycled water, they'll be there.
Well, it's an outstanding project, and it's getting to be the norm with this district. And you folks just keep doing outstanding work. I want to mention that while I was in D.C. for that legislative conference, that I was telling Eric Swalwell about this project, and he hadn't heard about it at that time. So his chief of staff contacted me, and we've sent them all the information that you provided for me. So
last year was mostly response to media and pitching to media.
Right.
This year we're going to do a little bit more of a campaign to spread the word. So be ready.
Job well done. Thank you.
Thank you. Congratulations.
It's pretty cool award.
It is.
So, I guess that was special announcements. Director Duarte, if you want to call for public comment, I think we just kind of follow through the agenda. Okay, get that out of the way.
We'll call for public comment at this time. We'll entertain anyone in the audience that cares to make a comment about anything that's not on the agenda tonight. None?
Okay, then I just have a very quick set of reports in terms of event calendar. You may be following this, you may not. But today up in Sacramento, the State Water Resources Control Board adopted some new regulations, basically expanding and extending emergency water conservation measures across the state for 2015. I have a copy of the press release from it. Actually, the Tri-Valley and DSRSD are pretty much in compliance with all of these. You know, when the time comes in April and May to tweak our program for 2015, this may necessitate a couple little tweaks, but I think largely we're by and large in compliance. So let me pass that down to you for your information. Also, there's been no correspondence to or from the board since our last meeting. So, with regard to agenda management, Director Duarte, since the agenda for this meeting was finalized, information was received regarding our new county water agency, East Bay Mud DSRSD water transfer, and regarding the objections raised by the general manager of the Zone 7 Water Agency concerning that water transfer. District Legal Counsel, Mr. Nelson, and I believe that the new information requires the board to take immediate action in open session as permitted by subdivision A2 of the Government Code Section 54954.2. Specifically, the action would be entitled Authorizing Direct Letter from District Board President to Zone 7 Board President related to the County Water Agency water transfer to the district for 2015. I think a logical place to add the new open session item would be at the beginning of the Board of Business part of the agenda. I'd also note there are 3 closed session items that relate in various ways to the transfer. And should the board determine to add the open session as recommended, you might find it useful to hold closed sessions up front right after the consent calendar. Come back and do the item you would just add and follow up with the rest of the board business. As you know, when we do these things, Government Code Section 5499, 54.2B.2 requires a 2/3 majority vote of the board. So it's Carl's and I recommendation that you do that, and
I'll move that we have the item as presented by the county manager.
I'll second.
Been moved and seconded to add the open session item to the board agenda. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
thank you. So we'll handle that right after the consent calendar and after the closed sessions. So I think you can proceed to the rest of the agenda. Well, and Carl's kind of, there's a couple of announcements that are needed because of the finance committee, because it's now been moved around.
Yeah, a meeting of the Financial Affairs Committee of the Dublin Center Lawn Services District was held at 4:30 p.m. today, March 17, 2015, attended by Directors Halkett and Juanita Leopold. Pursuant to Government Code Section 54952.3, neither director will receive any compensation or stipend for participating in more than one meeting on this date, as specified in the DSRSD policy P100-14-2 day of service. Committee reports.
No, I think we can just wait for the written. Good meeting, but nothing urgent, so we'll just wait for the written report.
All right. Approval of the minutes then. We had a special meeting on March 3rd and a regular meeting on March, and as well as a regular meeting on March 3rd.
I'll move approval of the special meeting of March 3rd minutes.
I'll second that.
Been moved and seconded to approve the minutes of the special meeting on March 3rd. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries unanimously.
And I'll move approval of the regular meeting.
I'll second.
2 seconds. We're 2/3 of the way there.
Moved and seconded to approve the minutes for the regular meeting of March 3rd, 2015. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried unanimously. Consent calendar. Items 8A, B, and C.
I'll move for approval of items 8A, B, and C.
I'll second.
Been moved and seconded to approve the items 8A, B, and C on the consent calendar. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried unanimously. 9A, board business.
Business, and I think at this point it'd be appropriate, since the first order of open session would be taking up the matter that you added to the agenda, I think it'd be appropriate to go into closed session for items 11B through D before we take that out.
So I can do mine. I need to talk about C.
The president, I think, will start the.
Okay.
Before we go into closed session, I'd like to let everyone know that I had lunch last week with Bill Clarkson, Councilman Scott Perkins, Jay Kerr from the San Ramon Fire District, and Greg Marble from the San Ramon School District last Monday and explained our position. They all voiced their support for our purchase of transfer water. I understand that Director Juanita Leopold would also like to make a brief statement.
I met with Kathy Nurum last week at lunch, and she said to inform us that Pleasanton is behind us 100%.
Director Benson?
I'd also like to say that I spoke with Dave Halpert, Mayor of Dublin, and he is behind us 150%. I'd also like to mention that I will not attend closed sessions item 11C and 11D to avoid any appearance that I am participating in any discussions, decisions, or voting on the approved DSRSD's water supply contract with East Bay Mud, and to ensure that I neither influence nor attempt to influence another member of the DSRSD board regarding any matters pertinent to the contract, consistent with applicable provisions of the government code, because I am a salaried employee of East Bay Mud.
So we notified everybody? Can we go and close
I have a
that?
dog.
The staff board will be going into closed session for 4 closed session items listed on the agenda and as added. Attendees,
We're going to do, we'll do the BC and
BC and D. Attendees will be listed as accepted, but Pat McIntyre, Engineering Services Manager, will also attend. Wow. There's a report from closed session that will be announced in open session.
That's amazing. Been through a lot.
This is a continuation of the DSRSD Board of Directors meeting, March 17, 2015. They've come out of closed session. President Duarte?
As a result of the closed session, there is nothing to report.
we were going to take up the item we added to the agenda.
Yes.
President Duarte, I'm going to pass around the attachment to the letter that is being considered here, and there's a copy for the audience as well. This document is entitled Proposed Principles for an Agreement Related to the Yuba County Water Transfer. And if you'd like, I'd be glad to go through it real quickly with you, kind of at a high level. Basically, just a background on this. This sprung from conversations that Jill Gurrig and I had on Friday that outlined sort of a conceptual resolution of the matter. Now, unfortunately, Jill hasn't been available to kind of go back and forth with me on this, but I think I try to capture the essence, at least the structure of her of the agreement that we kind of reached at that point with your guidance in terms of the cost in here. So here's the agreement points. Here's some background and purpose and some interest statements that we, policy things that we can work on. But cutting to the chase, the agreement points are that these principles for an agreement would represent the way that the two agencies would, for 2015, would administer what are becoming the problematic sections of our agreement, 5C, 5D, and 10. And neither agency is really refuting or recanting its position on any of those, but rather what we're saying is that for 2015, we would use these principles of agreement to administer those problematic sections. A couple of things with regard to operations. We'll limit the transfer to no more than 1,275 acre feet. That's discounted 15% from the Yuba amount of 1,500 acre feet because there's 15% total losses from the Yuba down turnout. So that's how you get down to 1,275. And that Zone 7, and this is sort of standard language, if this comes together, they'll, within their operational capabilities, adjust flow rates and timings of deliveries from them to us so that we can in fact take the water through the turnouts. And then where the rubber meets the road, I believe, is in terms of payments. The theory is that Zone 7, if Zone 7 could provide full deliveries to the retailers, to DSRSD in 2015, and we did the transfer, they would be left hanging for their fixed costs. Now, the general manager from Zone 7 outlined one method of calculating the fixed cost, which was basically starting with the rates and discounting from that, taking off power and chemicals and taking off the avoided cost of the transfer that Zone 7 is working on. We went back and looked at the contract between us, and it says, which defines the fixed cost as facility improvements, water contract obligations, and debt service. And unfortunately, we're not sure we have a precise analysis of what those costs actually are. We're working from the Zone 7 budget, but the best numbers we have on those is that would work out to an amount of $235 per acre foot, recognizing that we don't have a number in there for the water contract obligations. We weren't able to pull that out of the budget, so that number may be a little bit off, but it's a starting point for the discussions. The payments would be made not as a lump sum, but as the transfer is made month to month, basically as an addition to our invoice that we get from Zone 7. And then at the end of the year, because these costs are a little bit unknown, we would have a third-party review of those costs to try to square actually with what is estimated in this contract, or in these principles. And then finally, nobody's backing away from the governor's call for conservation or from statewide mandated conservation measures, so that provision is still in there. And then, finally, Zone 7 would remove its stated opposition. The way this would happen is because we couldn't, there's no way we can put together a legal contract and have the attorneys review it, present it to both boards, and a public review and everything in the time frame we need for this transfer window. So the concept is that these are principles for an agreement that, if acceptable, both parties would sign off on. These would be the guiding principles to move forward in good faith with the development of whatever legal documents would be, either party would feel would be required to actually implement those principles. And hopefully we get we'll present it to Zone, we'll get it in Zone 7's hands somehow. Hopefully they'll consider it at some point, perhaps tomorrow. We have a special board meeting to consider on Thursday if there's any kind of comeback from there, and hopefully at that point we're either there or pretty darn close to it.
This would be, of course, a suitable time for directors to comment, or if you wish, you could invite President Gracie, who I believe has given you a speaker card, and ask him to address the board since he's been so patiently waiting for us while we've been in closed session.
Mr. Gracie, and before you start, I want to thank you for the hour. I mean, this is not, it wasn't as hard. Thank you for your patience.
Yeah, thank
I
you.
got my programs recorded on TV, so I don't miss it.
Awesome.
My name is John Gracie, and I am the current president of the Zone 7 Board. And I appreciate the opportunity to be here this evening to speak with you. For 21 years that I've been on the board of Zone 7, I've seen a continual improvement in the working relationship with all of our agencies. I've had a great working relationship with Bert, and I can hope to continue that. I'm here tonight to assure you that it's necessary for me to have a board meeting tomorrow night. Our standard meeting is tomorrow night. And I assure you, either late tomorrow night after our board meeting or early Thursday morning, you will have what you need to hear from us for your special meeting tomorrow night. I guarantee you that. There'll be no delays. I know the urgency in which you have to transpire these issues to make this happen with the transfer. I understand where you're coming from for the rationale for doing it, because we're all in the same business. Okay? I'm comfortable with it. And I want to encourage my board and our general managers to work together to come to an amiable and quick closure to this issue. It's important to us and you, and it doesn't need to be delayed. So we will have our closed session tomorrow night. This is my main topic for the board meeting in closed session. And you will have a response so that you can proceed with your meeting, a special meeting that you're having on Thursday evening. We're both partners in this valley and water. We're all here for the same reason. We have a responsibility to the community for water. That's our main goal. And the actions you've taken with Yuba, that's water business. Okay? All I can say is that I'm going to encourage our general manager to work with Bert. It's always been a very good working relationship, and this will come to resolution soon. Thank you for the opportunity, and congratulations on the award that was presented tonight.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, John.
Thank you, John.
Always great comment.
Yes, we appreciate it.
Don't we very much appreciate your comments, and we will respond in kind.
And John, you have a copy of this?
You know, Secretary took good care of that, but we didn't change very good. It was very helpful.
Okay, very good.
Yes.
Thanks, sir.
Thank you. Did we get him the final?
I think we need to give them the final.
Yeah, I think you have, I think. That's in that packet.
That's the final.
No, the one in the packet had 2 links. This is the one.
Where are we?
Well, I think, just to close off this item, the item that I added to the agenda was to authorize the president to send a letter to President Gracie transmitting this proposal. I don't think you need that. I think we just handed it to Mr. Gracie, so I think we can dispense with it.
Well, I appreciate
Somewhere
Mr.
along the
Grace's
line, don't
words.
we need to actually approve these principles to be presented to Zone 7?
Need a motion?
Yeah. Don't we need to approve these principles
just
to
did.
be sent, or?
I think that would be a good idea.
Yeah.
Good idea, sort of implicit, but let's make it
It was
explicit.
implied, but explicitly, I'd like to make a motion to approve the principles that we've already presented to the zone.
Yes. I'll second.
It's been
I'll
moved and
third.
seconded that DSRSD approve the principles of agreement as presented to the Zone 7 Board of Directors. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries unanimously.
I have to say, off the record.
There is no off the record right now.
How about that?
On the record,
Georgine.
that it was very, very nice to hear his comments. Much
Encouraging.
appreciated.
Very encouraging,
Yep.
very appreciative.
It's we.
Okay. 9A.
The other 9A.
That was 9A plus.
And President Duarte, members of the board, I'll be pretty brief with 9A and 9B, the original 9A. They're both dealing with water, we're dealing with drought. 9A is our standard placeholder item. Just needed to give you some input on a drought management plan as it's going forward. My only comment would be, as we're getting pretty close to the April-May timeframe, you'll recall last year on May 5th was when we adopted all the measures. As clarity with the water picture in California takes shape over the next 4 to 6 weeks, I think you want to start anticipating an early May meeting where we'll be. It's not going to be near as intense last time because I think we have everything pretty well drafted. We may need to do some tweaks and things, but I think that will be the time frame to amend the drought management plan going forward.
Fire up the
Directions to
old
continue.
recycled water.
So when does that current plan expire?
June 3rd. And then 9B is a compilation of a lot of data that you've asked related to water supply and demand, as well as information about the actions we've taken in our drought response plan. I'd be glad to go through any of that with you, but suffice it to say, I think we're doing pretty well with it all. But this item actually does require an action on the board because this is the item in which you... Are you okay?
Yes.
This is the item in which you are going to continue the community drought emergency. You're required to revisit that decision once a month.
I move that we continue the current drought plan.
I second.
It's moved and seconded to accept to approve the drought management plan, accept the report. All in in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Item C.
President Duarte, board members, it's budget season. Finance department has started along the way, as has most of staff. We're working on that. Last week you reviewed, our last board meeting, you reviewed strategic goals, and we're discussing those. I guess I'd like to use this opportunity to get some feedback from the board regarding programs, services, equipment efforts that might be necessary at a strategic level for fulfilling some of the goals that we've set for ourselves. So we'd ask you to maybe discuss items that may be new that we haven't budgeted in the past that we should consider in the upcoming budget process. Or on the other side, there's always, as an accountant, I love hearing things can be taken away if we feel they're no longer required also. It's an opportunity for you to maybe just do some, quoted here, blue sky thinking on the matter and have discussion, come by just consensus and give staff direction for some items that they can include in the budget process for when we come back to you with the budget.
As John said, this is blue sky thinking, kind of clean sheet, but to keep you away from a clean sheet of paper, we gave you a starting point of some of the things that are in the strategic plan right now. You don't have to limit yourself to any of those, whether you do or adding to it. What we really want to do is be in a position when we come back to you in May with the budget of responding to what your desires are as a board, for what should be included, what shouldn't be included. Frankly, if there's something you don't want in the budget, well, save us the work of developing that. And if there's something you do want that you feel we're not doing, I'd like to hear about it now so we don't have to go through too many iterations once we present the budget to you. Just trying to get close to your expectations.
As Bert mentioned, the idea is not to go through each one, but if there was something in there that I felt that we hadn't been covering before that we should explore, cost-wise, and you all agree on it, we can look into the cost and have it presented with the budget.
What about, for me, it's educational programs. I'm finding, just from being out in the public with the Children's Museum, people want to know more about water, and they want us to be more, what can kids do, what can we do? It just seems like the education, not only at the kid level now, is at the adult level, is, we're going through the rebates and such, but I think the education programs and maybe a couple of displays somewhere.
So you would like to see more effort.
More effort. And maybe do some collaboration with the city too.
We used to do, we used to actually have teachers in the schoolrooms, and that was a while ago, but there's certainly nothing that says that we can't do some type of program that gets the kids involved. They are absolutely our best way to get to the parents. I mean, they'll drive the parents nuts with, but they said, my teacher said we should drink. My teacher said you should be watering with recycled water, Dad. So I think that's a good idea. Get a little bit more into the education
Because now the valley is really in need of it. And so if we can start shifting that focus to thinking of more outside the box, including a lot of the kids are doing that at the science fair. We have the Jim Conan sponsorship with Aqua now, so we'll get a little bit more visibility. But I think with, and to try to encourage more kids to go into the water industry, not only in treatment plant, but maybe in other facets of engineering or operations. Financial watering, how to run it. So the finances behind it.
Of the 9 items, the 9 activities that you've got under educational programs, are we not doing some of those already?
Some of those are, look at Sue hiding in the back there. I know some of them are done. The question the board members are raising is how much. And I think with the division, we can come in with details as to what we're presenting when we do the budget.
And, you know, I support some of this. If I remember right, when I first joined the board many years ago, you know, I think we even had a head count dedicated to this, and I wouldn't support adding a head count dedicated to only this. You know, this can be a useful kind of frosting on the cake, but to me, you know, our core mission is still clean water coming out of the tap and wasted on people's houses and businesses and going someplace, hopefully onto a lawn as recycled water, but over the hill if we have to. So this is a component, but I would just advise us to, you know, be careful here, because you know, we learned a pretty serious lesson in 2008 when we had to really pare the organization down, and I want to make sure as we, you know, maybe grow it back, we just be very careful how we grow it back.
Well, I think there's ways to do the materials online. There's a lot more ways to have it more dynamic now and not have it so, you know, where kids can learn. You can put lesson plans in the teacher's hands. There's just a lot more going on and available.
I'm not disputing that at all. I'm just saying as we start to husband our resources and shift them around, we may have a slightly
Make
different.
sure we've got a reasonable budget to spend.
Of course, there's no numbers, you know, associated with this list, but is there a lot of, yeah.
This is just kind of blue sky.
I was just wondering, is it anticipated a whole lot of money being spent, on water quality? Are we still focusing on it?
I mean, obviously, we have to meet state
Yeah.
water standards, so that's no question.
Yeah,
We
yeah.
really, during the drought, we really pared back all expenditures and efforts. We haven't eliminated them, but to a bare minimum, taste and odor associated with
Probably chemicals, continue that.
I would support that as well.
support.
I would
The
definitely.
Paring
concern
back.
could-
I mean,
Yeah, pare it back, yeah.
I figure when people start telling me about water quality again, that's a good sign.
Yeah.
They're already bothering me.
That's the
Well,
other thing.
some will correct regardless. We can't have both. I mean, you rather want some water,
We want to know why it's worse. That's the question.
if we're pumping
And
grounds like
the
that. So
answer
we have
is
some.
because it's, you know,
And
going way down the
email, is it still going on?
the way.
Yeah, so it'd be-
Right, they are not operating the demons.
Why?
Because
Saves water.
10 to 20% of the water that goes in is lost as brine.
That's why the water.
That's why you don't wash your cars.
Watch us recycle water.
Okay. That answers mine.
I mean, the three, assuming I always speak in threes. So there's something, Kim was trying to convince me something. No.
I would like us to look again at making our facility here so that we could be televised.
Live.
Yeah. Like Comcast.
Comcast,
I
not
think-
ESPN.
No. The Speed Channel.
I mean, as an alternative to that,
We have the alternative now.
no.
I'd like to look at, can we
Remember,
take the next step yet?
remember, cities and schools get outside money for this. We don't, for special district.
I'm just saying, we
Why don't
could
we-
use
why don't we-
some of the money from our
why-
tower rents.
Why don't we just head down the street and have our meetings at the city council's chambers? They're already plumbed. It's about a half a mile. Why even save us tonight? We have to rent the room out there.
Oh, my goodness.
But we all meet the same night.
Well, one more night, no big deal.
We have to run the crew.
I'm totally serious.
I know you are. No.
Or the school board, they have they have the best cameras around. They have like 8 of them in there. In other words, there's other publicly owned facilities within, a mile, 2 directions of this place that are already plumbed.
Well,
that
that
we
would
can
go
take advantage
over
of.
really well. One of the biggest facilities for meetings in the city, and we go to the Civic Center to have our meetings.
If televising is important to us, then that may be a choice for me.
Not that important.
Then that answers that question.
Second. second the unimportant part. Do you have a third thing?
No, I didn't
Finish
get,
your try.
I didn't get the one.
Sorry, I jumped.
As evidenced by all the kabuki theater we had for the first hour of this meeting, I want to be sure we adequately fund not only the study, but, we've got to figure this water supply thing out. Our contract, I mean, we always forget it. I forget it. It scares me. Our contract with the zone expires in less than 9 years. Which could be an opportunity. That means we have an opportunity to open the contract and start discussing it. It takes multiple years to get a water supply. You've been surrounded there. That's 1,200 acre feet. If we wanted to actually go out and find 15,000 acre feet or 7,000 acre feet, half our supply, we could do that. We just have to fund it and start putting some real effort into this.
Yeah, that I totally agree.
I think the old days of, well, let's get the water from the state water project and rain are over. If the rest of the valley's not going to do it, we need to get creative. So I'd like to budget whatever, not whatever, I'm not going to do it, but we need to budget sufficiently for that.
In other words, the follow-on from the long-term water resources act. Because right now, that plan
Is
is
budgeted.
budgeted just for planning. And we didn't do everything budgeted after.
And if you need to compress, if we can get that, that plan's kind of like an overarching, here are some ideas that we could follow on right away with some more concrete principles. That'd be nice. And then PERS liability, before it hits our balance sheet, the end of this fiscal year and European World sees it, that's one issue. Working towards that. I know we are. We had a good meeting about it this morning, or this afternoon, or sometime today, whatever it was. I don't know if there's any budget impact to that, John. Well, yeah, it's money, so there's a budget impact.
That will have the short and longer term, at least cash payments.
We think it's okay, but we just want to see how the budget comes together. We'll tell you that, certainly.
And then my third and last one I'll show up is biosolids. That was going to be,
Yeah.
If we're not careful, that's going to be the next thing that we're going to be in a crisis on. And I know we're working on it, just I want to be sure
Continue to
we're
press on.
funding it adequately to not be in a crisis in 3 years.
Well, I think without a doubt, not talking blue sky, they're absolutely most important things we should be doing are the biosolids and the water liability. Absolutely, with no extras.
Yeah, that's just a,
Those are absolutely critical, and yes, the biosolids are at the top of everybody's discussion list lately as to where that ultimately is going. So.
Because it kind of strikes me as the kind of thing, it's the kind of thing that you talk about, you go, oh, that's important, and then suddenly it becomes a crisis, and you wish you could go back 2.5 years before and have it done harder. I guess that's what I'm trying to say. These are all important, those are important topics. We just want to be sure that you have our support to work on them hard.
Well, my question is the biosolids to energy, is that our only backup plan?
Well, right now, that's the only thing.
Because back in the day, we had,
We're gonna be
we're going to water a little bit and do some.
Yeah, but then, all the old trucks and stuff. Some of those I think are fairly easy to implement. They're not research.
Well,
Just do it.
everything is conceptually easy. The BAB to meet biosolids standard has some technological issues that'll be, for you, I think it'll be very fascinating. But here's, for the district, the key is we do not have sludge dewatering equipment right now. So in order for us to do anything other than incorporate the sludge into our dedicated land disposal, we need centrifuges or belt presses or filter presses. That first pound of sludge is going to cost you tens of millions of dollars to water. So,
You need a place to do it.
yeah, well, we have the territory. It'll be a new building out in the DLE, but those pieces of equipment are not cheap by any stretch of the imagination.
so we should put that.
And I think
in capital
this
budget.
district needs to move that way. The question is exactly when and to what degree and how we phase it.
The timing.
Well, the sad part about it is that the timing is so unknown because nobody seems to really know when these outside pressures are going to start.
Well, there's not only
But if you start planning now, then we're
Well, I
ready.
agree. I totally agree.
Absolutely ready.
Totally agree.
planning. just thinking about it. Is there any trending data about well samples, soil out
You know,
there?
everything looks pretty good right now, but you know how samples are. There's going to be one bad sample one day.
Well, you just go try it again, maybe it goes away.
Well, or a couple of errors. I mean, in my mind, I'm more worried about the error incidents. You know, we get a couple of those. You guys did a great job weathering the storm, so to speak, in the 90s. I don't think Pleasanton will be as forgiving in the 2010s, 14s, 15s if we have another. You know, we're an operational problem away from having a lot of pressure on us.
We're going to be doing a briefing for the Bay Area Biosolids project for you in a couple of board meetings. We're going to get our schedule. We'll be doing that for you here shortly, and I think you'll find it pretty interesting. I think it's beginning to move forward with a concept. Actually, forming a joint powers agreement, talking about financing. We have a technology in mind that we want to go forward for what this district will be. We're not going to commit all our biosolids there. We commit some small fraction, 5 or 10% of the biosolids there, kind of as a, again, like water transfer, proof of concept kind of thing. You know, do you have a liquid door? You know, that we need more in the future. So it's going to increase our cost structure somewhat, both on a capital side and on an operating side, but not to the extent of running all your biosolids.
Have we done any conceptual studies on what would be the best method to do water there, by centrifuge versus a bell press or a...
Yeah, so the board actually approved recently a contract for the plant and biosolids master plan. So we'll be looking at alternatives, phasing, financing options, and then I'll be coming back to the board in 2016 for some decisions when the plan is finalized.
One of the things that I've noticed over the 20-some years, 25 years that I've been involved is that we get all excited about something, and so we spend multiple thousands of dollars to do a study, and the study presents us with 5 or 6 alternatives, and we put it on the shelf and we don't do anything about it. So when it comes back to it, it's too old and it needs to be renewed.
Not frustrating.
Yeah, that just frustrates the heck out of me that we spend so much money on these studies. I believe that we are in a position where we're actually going to have to make some moves like we did with the water and say, okay, it's time, whether or not somebody's pushing us, it's time to make the change. I think we're getting there really quickly, and as the EBDA contract expires and some of those things come into view as to how we're getting rid of the water in the bay, I think it's going to go faster and we're going to get pushed.
And I think one thing that's always worked against us is we do the study, we see the thing, we get sticker shock because we're so terrified to adjust rates that put on the shelf. And at least this board member, my read of the community, even larger than our own community, is people are starting to get concerned about the infrastructure falling apart, and I think the obsession with keeping the rates at the absolute lowest you possibly can and deferring these kinds of initiatives is starting to fade.
Well,
especially if we go out and we build a political goodwill to do it.
several years ago, I don't remember where it was, but someplace I heard someone speak and they talked about the fact that if you talk about infrastructure in the country as a whole, bridges and they're in horrible shape. And I didn't really realize to what extent until I went to that seminar at Cal Berkeley on concrete channels and the fact that people like Zone 7 are trying to get away from them, not only because it's a different way of thinking now, but also because they're crumbling and concrete doesn't last forever. The holes in our the potholes in our streets are evidence of that. Actually, you know what, you find, with a couple of exceptions, we're all pretty conservative, you know. I I mean, we'd like to go out and do all these things, but the reality of it is, we know what our mission is, and we want to take care of that first before we go do anything else.
And that's not a bad trade.
Well, this allows us to work some numbers out that are connected with options when we come back with the budget, so it is very helpful.
So, I mean, this is a great conversation on the board. If you go home tonight, I wish I had said that, just give me a call. Is that what we're trying to do, is just get the budget, we're not asking you to make a decision, but get the budget as close as we can to your collective desires. And, you know, come May, you may see something in there, you go, no, I don't really like that, but fine, we can try small. So this is what we're just trying to, we don't want to present something to you in May and say, hey, you totally.
Well, there is one other thing.
We want the directors to have cars,
Maybe it doesn't cost much money, but somebody was gonna dust off the old reverse osmosis plan and see what those kind of numbers are. And maybe see it Pleasanton, if they're partnering, putting some water in the ground.
Test the water.
Is that politically impossible? Or
No, it's more, it's ready.
We had all the permits to do it, we just didn't have the political will to step out and do it.
Maybe a contract issue or something. I don't know.
No,
But,
it wasn't contract issue.
Whatever.
The state,
Does it take a lot of money to decide this again?
No, the president.
We can look at that, where we take
it
that.
was,
Yeah.
Does it need a study? I mean, it's not something that you can do in-house.
We're doing that long-term water resource.
Yeah,
plan.
it's tied into that.
Of course, that's part of it, you know, the recommendation will come out of that.
I'm wondering if Pleasanton wouldn't mind being a partner.
why don't we see if Bill Gates, with the Gates Foundation will do us a grant?
So, there you go. All
Well,
right.
He
You know,
just
with all
announced
the-
he's into water.
No more pulling.
With all the reports on monitoring the groundwater, I have a feeling that the philosophy about injection is going to mandatorily change, because our groundwater won't be there.
Anyway,
Okay.
Go forth and conquer.
And I did not hear cars for directors.
Yeah. And computers.
Yeah, we're not.
Skateboards maybe.
That's why they
Yeah.
have logs.
Maybe a little tablet so we can try to get away from paper more.
You know, I have heard that before.
Yeah.
Tablets or something for.
Laptops.
just do the Wi-Fi, we'll bring the equipment.
It's true, we have our own.
Yeah, we have our own. Okay,
Okay, well, thank you for that. That'll help us.
nice to see you. Any direction, John?
Yes, thank you.
Okay, you're right.
No, nothing other than my ski resorts are booked.
Just,
Well, I know I brought this up before, and I'm sure all of you have noticed that our badges call us emergency response officials. And the reality is, most of us don't know what that means. And so I had talked to the police chief about sending us to the CERT Academy, which is the Community Emergency Response Team, which puts the community a little bit more involved in knowing what to do. And I think this training is absolutely mandatory, and he agreed that we should be doing this. Unfortunately, I got this Saturday, and it is this weekend. So what I'd like to do is pass this on to staff and see if we could call and find out when the next training is, so we can get a little better handle on it. Thank you. That's all I have.
Good. Great festival and happy St. Patty's Day to all. Maybe all go forward and enjoy our rest of the evening.
Okay, thank you.
One more closed session.
You just got one more?
Yeah, and it'll be a very quick one.
You do too.
Do I get to go?
Yes.
It's time to vote.
Please, please, I don't want to come to this one.
11A,
Then we have a meeting.
Oh, that's right, we do have a
C, and D.
We have a meeting Thursday.
We have, Thursday, we'll post the agenda for 5:30. I think that was sort of a
Yeah.
common denominator time.
That'll be here.
5:30.
Okay, so we're going to 11A.
Yeah, we're going into 11A.
Oh,
Attendees as per the agenda, except that Ms. Gallardo will not.
And Michelle will not be here. We'll grab the closed session. So, when we try to